Berlin Olympics were definitely a very controversial year because of the whole thing with Hitler and World War II, but luckily it's 2021 now, and there hasn't been an occasion similar to this.
I come to you this evening to discuss the extremely important and rapidly changing circumstances in Southwest Asia. Our purposes continue to be the protection of the long-range interest of our nation and the safety of the American hostages.
Well, I guess we're doing this again. So, I was wrong. 1936 wasn't the only year that the Olympics had a major political controversy that resulted in a boycott by the United States, because roughly 40 years later, something similar had happened. Now you may be asking yourself, what exactly happened? Well, we're getting there, so buckle up. Or you can just sit there looking at the TV admiring my great editing. Doesn't matter. Anyways, to start things off, on December 1979, in the midst of the Cold War, the Soviet Union invaded the country of Afghanistan in order to prop up the communist government of the Democratic Party against a growing revolt. Over the course of the 80s, the Soviets poured in billions of dollars into the war in Afghanistan, and at its peak, more than 100,000 soldiers were fighting the country. The only issue was that the Afghan resistance, also called the Mujahideen, was heavily supported by a wide variety of international leaders, one of the main ones being the United States. The different Mujahideen factions couldn't agree on how to share the power, and the country quickly descended into a very violent and bloody civil war, which then leads us back to this video. If you know what this whole thing was, this was President Jimmy Carter addressing the situation between Afghanistan and the Soviets, and explains how this move threatens stability and peace in the region. Now, what does all of this have to do with the Olympics? Well, I'm getting there, okay? Don't rush me. So how did the Olympics get thrown under all this? Well, that is because in 1980, the year of the next Summer Olympics was held in Moscow, Russia, and was hosted by none other than the Soviet Union. Jimmy Carter announced this boycott after the Soviets failed to comply with Carter's deadline to withdraw its troops from Afghanistan on February 20th. Coincidentally enough, 4 years later in 1984, the Olympics were held in Los Angeles, and the Soviet Union decided to do the same thing. They promised they will not be competing in the 1984 Olympics and claimed that athletes would not be safe from protests and physical attacks, which by the way was a huge influence for the 2018 Winter Olympics held in South Korea, which created tension between US athletes with the North Koreans over nuclear weapons. And well, that's it. Yeah, there really isn't much to say about this event other than the fact that it was one of the most controversial and very political heavy Olympics known to date. But luckily, it's been 40 years, and there hasn't been another situation since, which also means that I'm finally free, and I can now live my life in peace without having to talk about another dumb Olympic controversy ever again. What do you mean it's not over? Check the man, whatever. Alright, well, I just want to get this over with. Here. No way. Are you just...